Well, millions across the country marched over the weekend. Did you see this? In protest of the Trump administration's policies on immigration, voting rights, and the economy. Much of the major media drawing headlines, captivating these crowd sizes and all of the posters with puns on them. Democratic leaders used the movement to highlight how most demonstrations were peaceful and pushed for unity. However, some Republican leaders were quick to point out what they call the irony in the No Kings messaging. We're going to welcome to the show NewsNation media contributor Steve Krakauer and the executive producer of the Megyn Kelly Show. Great to see you, Steve.
Hey, Anna, you too.
So, yeah, I mean, I think since I work for NewsNation, I don't have one sort of silo on social media that I get. So I was getting both sides, the dogging on President Trump, and then the other side saying, hey, remember COVID and all the mask mandates and shot mandates?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think, the irony also of just the No Kings protest is that the bigger it gets, the entire movement, I mean, listen, it had millions on Saturday. That is true. The more it sort of disproves the entire thesis of it, which is that you're protesting some fascistic king-like monarchy government when, look, it seems like they can do whatever they want. They can put any sort of, offensive signs or any sort of signs they want, any sort of, dancing against Trump that they'd like to do. So that is true. Look, I think that a couple things can be true at the same time. There were a massive number of people that came out. I will say, I don't know what the average age was. I'd say it was a little bit elderly, a little bit maybe leaning sort of white. Not necessarily a real grassroots movement of a diverse young base of people, but yes, a lot of people came out, and it doesn't seem like it was all astroturfed. I know that there's a lot of questions about the funding of this. You see the signs. Some of them are obviously handmade. Some of them across the country are obviously the same sign. So there's some sort of coordination going on. That is true. But I do think that it does sort of open the question about what is the purpose of all this? What does this actually accomplish? And you see the Democratic politicians really trying to draft off this movement, that trying to find anything to in this Trump 2.0 era to get the hashtag resistance riled up. I'm not sure this does it because of the type of people that were there. Now, it does get a lot of coverage from other sources that are not so right down the middle, like NewsNation. Very excited about this. A lot of people, look at all these people. That is a true statement. But what does that ultimately do for the kind of people that move the country in a political or a cultural direction? I'm not sure a lot changed from this, because it does seem to kind of just rile out the dancing, the base that was already going to be there.
All right, I love to listen to all the Sunday shows and get the take on, it kind of sets the tone for the week. And Speaker of the House Mike Johnson has called these demonstrations Hate America rallies. This is what he had to say on ABC on Sunday.
We congratulate them on a apparently violent free speech exercise. I was a First Amendment lawyer for 20 years. We defend that right. But the irony of the message is pretty clear for everyone. If President Trump was a king, the government would be open right now. If President Trump was a king, they would not have been able to engage in that free speech exercise out on the mall, by the way, which was open because President Trump hasn't closed it. In the last shutdown, 2013 era, President Obama closed the National Mall, it closed all the national parks, didn't allow people to engage in all this. So, I mean, they needed a stunt, they needed a show. Chuck Schumer needs cover.
Look, so the speaker said, it's have a paradigm shift on this one. And you actually echoed something similar on X, too. You said, congrats to the No Kings protesters. You guys did it. America is officially kingless.
Yes, having some fun with it. Listen, I think that's a good point, though, because yes, it was largely peaceful. I think that we saw some video out of Portland, which I don't blame the No Kings protest. I blame Portland for what was going on there about the actual violence. Most of it was not, but I'm not sure there was a lot of calls for unity. In fact, a lot of the signs we saw, I hate to sort of move the speech into the category of violence, but a lot of people that I saw interviewed there, and it obviously doesn't represent their whole, were wishing violence on both the President of the United States and others in his movement. So I don't know about that there was a bunch of peaceful, unifying people with the other side. It was a lot of people unifying among each other as they did their little dances and held their signs. But I do think, yes, free speech is important. I think people have the right to do it. But I don't think that there's a lot of like kumbaya happening with sort of like overall America when it comes to looking some of these signs and some of the comments that are coming out of the people really hateful of the people that they find to be obviously offensive and dangerous.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.